the economy from those who rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving these signals via the magic of el Internet, that formerly known as the ARPANET, created by whom? You. We the people. Let me tell you, folks, it is ours. We created it. It's our intellect, but now controlled by a few billionaires. Typical to the type of economic system that we have, that takes the mastery of the many under the control and profit of the few. Anyway, folks, before and without any further ado, let's go to the Geniuses NLS studio. How are you doing, my dear brothers?
Well, Jack, did you go and get that internet back from those billionaires yet?
No, man, I've been meaning to do it.
I know. They're so stingy. They want to take the internet and keep it. So I sent Jack out to go get the internet, and well, you know what happened.
Well, he'll get it at some time. He'll get it. You know, Jack fulfills every mission.
He does indeed, and it is Wednesday morning at the radio here, the 23rd of April, 2025, and yet the drama continues. I understand that Japan and China are dumping treasury bonds.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, that's our debt that they bought, and now they're saying we don't want to do this anymore. So give us back our money. So that's yeah, the chaos continues.
Well,
Jack, you got half a page of wisdom there. So let's hear what you got to say.
Yeah, it goes along with this same conversation here. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Goodness,
Oh man,
too many cigars.
grass pollen. How does he do it? No. Good morning, Egberto. How are
good
you?
morning, my brother. How you doing?
How does he do it? How does President Trump come up with new and amazing ways to punish and pilfer the people? He's threatening to garnish tax returns, wages, and pensions of the people who are behind on their predatory student loans. I'm sure former President Biden was looking to forgive student loan debt, wasn't he? I heard that someplace. Maybe, just maybe, life was better under Democratic administrations of Biden, Obama, and Clinton.
I would have to say yes, they were.
I was better off.
Well, I know I was too.
Yeah, listen,
So how about you? Were
I
you
think
better off?
everybody was better off. And the thing about it is, confessing or telling the truth that we are in trouble is a hard thing to do. But, you know, I want to mention, since you brought it up, it's not a part of the program, but you guys always hijack the program with your great intellects. Let me just say this. The problem is this. Japan and China are the two largest holders of United States bonds. And what are these bonds? These are generally 10-note treasuries that says whenever we overspend, which we've done since Bush number 2 came into power. Remember, the budget was balanced under Bill Clinton, a Democrat who raised taxes. Let me first back up and tell you guys, there's a reality and then there's a fantasy. And the problem that we have today is we don't have a media that is bold enough to call out politicians that just simply come out and lie. So let me tell you some absolute truths that you can actually go ahead and research on your own, because the data, the math is absolute. This isn't somebody just talking. The math is absolute. The economy, rated by GDP, has always, since the 20th century, done better under Democrats than Republicans. That's number one. That's a statement of fact. All right. Likewise, the debt always gets better in the aggregate under Democrats than under Republicans. And that's not by accident, and that isn't, well, because it's a what do we call it? It's an exception. No, it's a fact, but it goes based on ideology. The Republican ideology is that of cutting taxes and the claim of limited government and all of that sort of stuff. But the reality is that cutting taxes only work for rich people, and it's only a small percentage of Americans that are rich. That's only a small percentage of Americans that are rich. So therefore, they cut these taxes for all these rich people, but at the same time, they cannot cut the programs to cover those tax cuts, because those programs cover the average middle class and lower class, working class, and poor Americans. So they just leave those alone. They do nothing about it, but they get their taxes cut. So in effect, they have a fiscally irresponsible methodology. The Republican Party, the Republican politicians do. They have to be careful how they cut these programs, because it affects not just liberals and progressives and Democrats. It also affects their own, so they leave it standing. And by definition, that means if you're going to cut taxes, if you're going to give all your money to the defense industrial complex, and and you're not going to cut the social programs or the defense programs, then you get huge deficits. When Democrats come into town, they look at the books and they say, oh my God, the only way to pay this is using math. And math says you have to raise taxes to do X, Y, Z's, etc. And they raise taxes, and generally the budget gets better. The deficit gets lower. Obama lowered the deficits. Biden lowered the deficits. I mean, it's still high as hell, but he lowered it, was less than it was before. It is important to understand why that is the exact opposite of what Donald Trump did in his first term and what he's doing in the second time. He's spending more, all with Doge, with the Doge hype and firing all these people. Guess what, folks? They're still spending more money than under the Biden administration. So I want you to understand there are lies. And I want you to also understand that the media doesn't do enough to let Americans understand that they are being played with this thing about the Republicans are good for the economy, or that the Republicans are good for fiscal responsibility. All of those are just talking points, but lies. And their numbers are not, you can easily go to the budget, the employment commission. You can go to all these different government agencies and find out that what I've just said is factual. So please, if you're a MAGA person listening, and you have been taken up by liberals are big spenders and liberals are fiscally responsible and the responsible ones are Republicans, etc., understand why Republicans are not responsible, because it's tax cuts, but they can't really do a lot of cutting to the social programs. Otherwise, they'll never get elected. So they just blow the budget. Now, how does that tie into what Howard had to say with bonds? What that means is that we get a lot of people to buy bonds. And who buy bonds? Rich people buy bonds, the government bonds. I'm speaking in the aggregate now. Rich people buy the government bonds, and also foreign countries park their money in United States bonds, because what? The United States always pays its bill, and that interest rates that you're getting on those bonds, you're guaranteed to get it. You know why? Because all of us as taxpayers, that's the first bill we pay. The taxes due on all the bonds that we sell to cover our deficits. And let me tell you something. Our deficit is about $1 trillion every year. I repeat, our deficit is about $1 trillion every single year. So that means at an average of 3%, right? At an average of, and by the way, our budget deficit is, I'm sorry, let me back up. The interest, I misspoke. the interest on the amount of money, the trillions of dollars that we owe, that other foreign countries own in bonds and our rich people own in bonds, we have to pay out of the treasury, out of our taxes. As soon as we pay our taxes, we give away $1 trillion in interest to pay those rich folks and all those countries that have bonds. So let's give an example. China has about, let's just call it, to estimate, let's just call it $900 billion in bonds. It's a little bit less, but let's call it, but this is to make my math easy. That means every single year, we give China, for that $900 billion, about $30 billion in our taxes. We just write a check for $30 billion and give it to China. So much for hating China, so much for, controlling China. China don't give us any money for any loans, but we, because they're owning our debt, we give them $30 billion. And the same with Japan. Japan owned 1.0 something trillion dollars in our debt. So we pay Japan every year 30 something billion dollars and growing of our taxpayer dollars right off the top. That's $30 billion that can't go into healthcare. That's, but altogether, it's $1 trillion that we owe to all the countries that own U.S. treasuries, plus all the rich people in America that owns treasuries. That means own our debt. But I want to show you the evil within that way of doing business. Because we can't cut, or in general, we won't cut social programs. All right? This is important. Because we can't cut social programs, because again, they are required. Social Security is written, but Donald Trump is going to try using all kinds of tricks to screw us. But and because we always promise the rich finance a lot of these folks. We always promise the rich these tax cuts. What that means is the following, folks, and I want you guys to understand how we as a people are conned by the wealthy. Every time we decide to lower taxes, that means the wealthy gets to keep more of the money that we worked for. Because remember, the wealthy gets their money from the excess labor that we provide. In other words, when you go ahead and buy all those goods that they import from China and they mark it up by 500%, the workers get a tiny little bit and they get most of the money from that markup on that product or on that service. They get most of the profit, the bonuses, all of that. Now, they don't want to pay the same tax rate that you do on that humongous amount of money that they make. So their benefactors, their politicians, the people they own, go ahead and they say, okay, we'll give you a tax cut so you don't have to pay the taxes. All right, that's one way the wealthy makes money. They get the tax cut. But here's the evil part. To get that tax cut, the politicians borrow the money to fund the government, to fund your military, to fund your Social Security, to fund your Medicaid, to fund your SNAP, to fund the roads, to fund all of that. To complete, they have to borrow money. And who do they borrow the money from? The rich people. So the rich people got a tax cut. They take that tax cut, loan it back to us, we the people, and then they tell us for loaning us that money, we have to give them interest every year. And that is that $1 trillion that we pay in interest every year. So they get money from the tax cut. They get monies from the actual borrowing that we do from them and having to pay them interest on that. But it gets even deeper. Because we as a society, monies are generally owned in several instruments, financial instruments, either stocks or bonds. So we pay them to use the money that they return to us, that we borrow from them, and which is really the tax cuts that we gave them. So they give us back that money as loans, and then we pay them from the honor of using that money. But it gets deeper. And then they convince their politicians that, by the way, those stocks that they own, when they decide to sell that stock, guess what? At that point, that stock doesn't get taxed at the same rate as your income, middle class folks. They pay a discount in taxes on the appreciation of the stock when they sell that stock. When you sell stuff, or when you pay the full rate. When you make your money from your wages, you pay the full amount in taxes, but they don't. So that's another way that they get over on us with that. Now, how is this stuff of selling bonds that Howard talked about create a further problem? Well, if we have Japan, China, and these other countries selling bonds, that means that the price of that bond they're selling falls, right? Why? Because you have to because you're asking somebody to pay something that isn't matured yet, and the way the bond mechanism work, they're selling it because they see an issue with the country that owns the bonds. And what that means is to cover that bond, right? And since we need to borrow more money, because if they were just selling that bond, it would be fine. But they're selling that bond into a bond market that we, American people, are also borrowing money from. So anybody who wants to buy bonds, before they buy the new bonds that we're selling, they will go buy those bonds from Japan and China, American bonds from Japan and China, that Japan and China, to get them sold, have to sell at a discount, which means if it's earning 3% or whatever, they have to sell that bond at a discount to make that offer good to the people who want to buy it. And what that means, if we want to sell new bonds, check this out, folks. If we want to sell new bonds, new debt that's coming on board, we have to raise the price of interest more so than the bonds these guys are trying to unload. So therefore, if we have to pay, I think it went from like an average of like 3% to the last time we saw it was 4.4%. Every percentage increase in that bond makes the deficit much worse, because that means we have to give away that much more money for people to hold our debt. And who's ready for that higher tax rate again? I mean, that higher interest rate? The rich people are going to say, come on, keep deficit spending. We'll buy those bonds at those higher interest rates. It makes it even a better deal. Folks, understand when I speak about the con and rich people, everybody talk about we shouldn't be supporting class warfare and all of that. Hell no, we should be supporting class warfare. Hell, that's why I wrote a book called As I See It. Class warfare is the only resort to right-wing doom. They tell us don't play class warfare, but they sure as hell are playing class warfare on us. That's why the farmer has to buy his seeds every year instead of using his own seeds, because when your field gets genetically modified by the pollen flying in the air and Monsanto sues you, you are in deep caca. Everything in this country right now is made to support the wealth of the few. Folks, I need you to understand these things. You're not hearing this on mainstream media because these are corporate medias, and these are the systems that hold the rich, that hold those the way they are. You see what you did, Howard, by bringing that subject up? You brought me into the entire the entire fraud that is the economic system, the way all of this stuff works. But most Americans, they go to work every day. They have to pay the bills every day. They have to do all these things every day. So they don't have time to research all this stuff. They don't, and moreover, you have easy information coming from Fox News, lying to them day in, day out. You have marginal information coming from the mainstream media, not letting them understand the fraud that is our economic system, that you can't get ahead. The only way you get ahead is if you are invited into the system. And 10% of the people are invited into the system. 20% of the people are invited by that 10%, and the rest of you fight. You fight for the next paycheck. You fight. And when I talk about invited, I'm not kidding. Everybody think we are a meritocracy. They're fighting DEI. Well, remember the caller who spoke about MEI, meritocracy, excellence, and intelligence? DEI is the only thing that guarantees meritocracy, intelligence, and excellence. Why? Pete Hegseth. That is what non-DEI does for you. You get people like Pete Hegseth in power. When you have DEI, everybody has to follow the same rules of excellence, of intellect, of intelligence to get in. It just means the door is open for everybody. In our economic system, the door isn't open for everybody. It is open for those who are invited. There are a whole lot of engineers that UT and A&M and Texas Southern and all these universities put out there. You have to be invited in to get in those good engineering jobs, whether you're good or bad. I remember when I got on at NASA. And I saw the engineers, we all work together, we all sit down so we could all understand our different competencies. And when DEI isn't enforced, when these other signals aren't enforced, I can tell you categorically, the good old boy system is active and I've left NASA a long, long time ago, but the good old boy system is involved. The people that you're doing the work are the people that you think least. And then the people that are loafers out there are just who you think would be loafers. So let me tell you, folks, the system is rigged. It's not a meritocracy. It gives the impression that it's a meritocracy. Oh, if I work hard, I can do stuff. Look, you can open your pizza shop and do well. You can open a grocery store and do well, not get rich. Do well. Some people may stumble into wealth, but let's look at what Donald Trump is doing with tariffs right now. The tariffs right now is going to help a lot of rich people. Even as they complain, they will never lose. But the mom and pop store in Timbuktu, South Dakota, that imports all those baskets that it decorates. I did an interview. I haven't played it yet here on our station on KPFT. I played it on the evening program where we have this guy that anybody to listen to this guy would look at this guy and say, this is a good, solid Republican, but he owns a glass company. And this glass company used to make the glass here in the United States. For competitive reasons, he had to make the glass pieces in China, but he still employs a lot of Americans by saying, I am going to bring the cheap part of the labor into the United States, these glass bottles, or glass containers, bottles that I can get for cheap, but I will make sure that the decorations and all the customization is done by high-skilled workers here in the United States. So he hires a lot of people in the United States. What is Trump's tariff going to do to him? And he came on, he's also in a federation against these tariffs. What is this going to do to him? Well, the prices from China has a 145% duty on it. He said, Egberto, I ordered my product 6 months ago. They're sitting on the docks. I have to pay 145% to bring those products in. What that means is the product that I sold for $15, I'm going to have to sell now for $25. What that means is less people are going to buy this product and I'm going to have to lay off American workers. So all of you MAGA folks that are looking at the genius of Trump, you know what I mean, the ignorance of Trump, really. These things these things affect people, and it affects the small business person. It affects you, MAGA, more than anybody else. And you listen to all the rhetoric on Fox News and Newsmax and all these other places, and you have a fish hook in your nose as you follow these people. Brothers and sisters, come on, wake up and tell your congressman to do the right thing. Welcome aboard to all our Substack users. Marcia Power, Tony Brown, Laurie Sharon, Fev, JRC, SDB, Sabrina, Sally Canscale, Michael Kuster, Cheryl Elkins, Angie, Mo, Linda Young, Susan DeAnters, Hola Schindler, Daily Rice, Mila Live, Lisa Gallagher, Julian, William. Well, I can't get to all of you folks. Thank you for all being here. But we got a message from that says they only want privilege and entitlement and witness and whiteness to prosper, and that comes from Still I Rise. And I'm going to say that whiteness is a tool, not a reality for most white people. That is a statement of fact, right? White supremacy and this methodology affects all Americans. Yes, within degradation, but white supremacists affect white Americans terribly. Welcome aboard, Lisa Blair. Good morning on the chat. Welcome aboard, Joe from Los Angeles, California. Welcome aboard, Nicole Melnick. Good morning. Lee the Bearcat from Austin. Good morning. Jacqueline Campici from Katy, Texas. We also have Glenn Ryan. Egberto, and Glenn Ryan is going to hit me up correctly again, and I'm going to read it, Glenn. Egberto, we can't pretend the Dems are not part of Con, can we? Have you heard me talk about the neoliberals, my brother? The neoliberals ain't Bernie. The neoliberals ain't AOC. The neoliberals ain't Presley. The neoliberals ain't Ilhan Omar. The neoliberals aren't Rashida Tlaib. The neoliberals aren't, and I can name you progressive after progressive after progressive. That doesn't fit the criteria, so let's just be honest about it. But you are correct. So, folks, the first 27 minutes of this show was brought to you. What is the word that they say? Was brought to you by Howard Reynolds hijacking the show with the thing that he brought up that I thought was important for all
and
our listeners.
Doing so. I am proud.
Talk to me, brother. Talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
I am proud to hijack your show.
And you know what? You did a great job, because this needed to be said. This needed to be said.
Yes.
It needed to be said. Thanks, brother. And folks, before I get to the other subject, if you want to call in on what I just said and you want some questions or want to refute it, whatever you want to do, give me a call at 713-526-5738. I have a 6.5-minute video to play, but I'll hold off a bit to see if anybody wants to discuss what I just spoke about. Anybody want to add value to it? 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Give me a call. I'm going to hold out a bit without the video to see if I get anyone to talk about this issue. But while I wait for any calls that might come in, I want to tell you guys about my good friend. She's not really my good friend. I don't know her, but I just love her spunk. And that is the president of Mexico. The president of Mexico. She, in measured ways, she knows how to handle Donald Trump. But there's something that is upsetting. Kristi Noem, the DHS secretary, she goes to Mexico, or she goes on to Mexican TV, or she places on Mexican TV ads calling the immigrants that are coming over here, just like Donald Trump came down those stairs and spoke about, calling them criminals and terrorists and rapists on Mexican TV. She buys ads on Mexican TV to lie to Mexicans about being rapists and killers and all these things. So what did Fanboyne do? And by the way, that kind of propaganda was illegal in Mexico until I think 2014. What did Shamboyne do? President Shamboyne do? She's putting out a law to take all those ads off of TV. But she's also making it clear that let's stop trying to make this a Mexican problem. And I want to take up that issue. I want to remind people, and specifically Republicans in this administration and every other administration, something that they really, really like to talk about. And that is something called personal responsibility. Personal responsibility. We do have a problem with people using fentanyl and these bad drugs. We do have a problem with people using these drugs. But you know what, folks? Personal responsibility and our economic system. Our economic system has an interesting thing. They like to call it supply side, right? Republicans like to talk about supply side economics, right? But it's BS. They believe if you put the supply there, the demand it will create. No. It's always demand side. If people demand something, there will be a capitalist, there will be a free enterpriser, there will be somebody who says, there is a market here. And that's what capitalists around the world sees. Americans love its drugs. Americans love its fentanyl. And a market was created for those drugs. It's illegal, but when has illegality ever stopped anything in this country? So therefore, a market was created for the fentanyl that Americans love. They love the feeling. The real question, as Fanborn would put, is why do so many Americans need the calming effects? Why do they need to be desensitized by taking these drugs? What within the American psyche, what harms them, what hurts their psyche so badly that they need these drugs? What is it that they need to calm themselves from these drugs? Whether it be fentanyl, whether it be alcohol. We are a very, what is it called? Pharmaceutical type country. So that is where Donald Trump's emphasis should be. Go into Appalachia. Why are these people taking this fentanyl? And notice we attack all the others now that it's fentanyl, right? Why is it that Americans need all these drugs to calm their feelings? That is what we should be thinking about. An economic system that screws everybody over, that they work themselves to the bare bones. Maybe that's it. But then we try to blame the other countries for the drug problems that we have. The same thing. We killed 10,000 Panamanians because Manuel Antonio Noriega allowed his banks to be used to finance monies that got drugs into the United States that the American people wanted. So we killed Panamanians, 10,000 Panamanians, to get Noriega, who was facilitating the drugs American people wanted. Do you get it? Personal responsibility, where is it? Personal responsibility. I want us to start being honest with ourselves. Let's say that President Shanboyne decided that she was going to come on to American TV and run ads against AR-15s, against all these guns that get smuggled into Mexico, and that when they're smuggled into Mexico, kill a lot of Mexican politicians, a lot of Mexican peasants, a lot of Mexican avocado growers, a lot of Mexican farmers who are paying extortion to the cartel. Suppose she decided reciprocity means doing that in the United States, playing those commercials. All of MAGA would go bat you know what crazy. How dare a foreign country come into America with ads that affect our gun industry? Do you get it? Reciprocity? Honesty? Morality? Come on, folks. Let's go to Martin, line number 5.
Yes, good morning.
Good
There's
morning, Martin. How are you doing?
pretty good, thank you. Yourself. There's an abundance of programs agreeing and disagreeing with what you're saying. I think that first of all, in short, in a nutshell, I think that there are many corporations that we all know of, that we've heard of over the years, multi-billion-dollar corporations, Fortune 500 corporations that do not pay their fair share of taxes. However, having said that, there is a majority of so-called quote-unquote wealthy, rich folks, billionaires, zillionaires, whatever you want to call them, that without their tax money going into the coffers, we wouldn't have a bone to eat this morning for breakfast. The people that you're talking about, the rich folks that are getting the advantage, yes, there are rich folks that are getting some advantage. Money makes money. Rich get rich, the poor get poor. It's always been the case. It always was, and it always will be. There's no disputing that. There's no arguing that. That's hands off the table. That's old news. It's always going to be that way until we find out a different economic system for the world to exist by, and that's called communism or socialism. If that's what you're advocating, and I don't know that it is, but that's the only alternative that we have to what you're talking about. Now, however, number two, when there was an article the other day about the taxes that illegals pay, they work and they pay taxes and they have illegal Social Security numbers because they have to have thousands and thousands of, they don't get Social Security numbers on their own, so they have to get them from somewhere. So they get them and they do pay their taxes. However, what we fail to consider is this. Do we want, and this is the crux of my question, we hear about the fact that these illegals are paying taxes and not getting their fair share. These are good people. A majority of the people coming over the border are good people that want a better life. Some are coming over because they've been abused in their country, so much abused that they have to get out. Now, is that America's problem to solve the greed, the graft, and the corruption? We have our own. We have our own crime. We have our own greed. We have our own. We cannot police the world. We're trying to. We have tried to. The argument is the United States is supposed to cure the ills of the rest of the world. Mexico, we're supposed to take care of the Mexican cartels. We're supposed to take care of Somalia. We're supposed to take care of Africa, what's happening over there. The Taliban, we were supposed to take care for 20 years of Afghanistan. We're supposed to take care. Donald Trump, love him or hate him, MAGA, whatever you want to talk about, we don't want to go back to 4 years ago where the Homeland Security guy, Mallorca, is telling us, gaslighting the American people. Who is he trying to get to believe that hundreds of times he has said the southern border is closed? It's closed. I cannot tell you, I pulled my hair out the number of times I have heard that moron say the southern border is closed. Closed to what? Closed to who? You juxtaposition that against the fact that when he's saying that, you see thousands of people coming across the river. At the same time, he's saying the border's closed. Closed to who? Closed to what? Who's he trying to gaslight?
Okay, I think I get your whole picture, Martin.
Okay.
I think I got your.
We don't want to go back to 15 million people. We don't know. Many of the hundreds of thousands of these people, or at least thousands of them, have been on the terrorist watch list. They have not been vetted. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know where they are, who they are, or what they're doing. So now,
Martin. Okay, Martin. I think you made your whole picture. Martin, I think you made the whole picture. Please let me answer. I gave you the whole. Let's see, so far 5 minutes to make your case, more than anybody else. So let me make the case now. Let me answer your statements because first of all,
Do you want to go back to 4 years ago?
okay, Martin, hold 1 second, please. Martin, let me answer. Martin, let me answer. This is important.
4 years ago.
Martin, can you hear me or not?
Yes.
Okay, now let me answer the questions one at a time. Notice that I allowed you to speak without interruption. Now allow me to answer your questions. First of all, the first part of your commentary, you spoke against what you said. Here's the deal. You spoke about corporations that, yes, they're bad corporations and they're greed, etc. You also said that unless the system changes, that's how it's always going to be. And you're correct. That's how it's always going to be until the system changes, until we change the paradigm. Your response, which is an indoctrinative response given by the people who are taking advantage of us right now, wants you to believe that the only answer to making the system correctly fairer is to institute communism, so everybody gets scared. Oh my God, we either take this nasty type of system or we take communism. That's a false choice. It is a false choice that we have killed a lot of people to maintain. The reason we have attacked many countries that have tried to adapt a more equitable system is because if Americans saw an equitable system in action, they would ask, why don't we ourselves do that? You should ask yourself questions like, why is all the wealth from the minerals on federal lands going into the coffers of a few and not the many when it's on federal lands owned by all of us? So as far as the economic system is concerned, I will tell you respectfully, we as a country, as a people, have been indoctrinated into believing that the opposite of capitalism is communism, which is a statement of a fallacy. China is the biggest, most successful capitalist country in the world. Okay? And that's a communist country. America is the biggest successful capitalist country in the world. And while we have the implication that it's a democracy, it is far from a democracy. Just look at the Senate. It is not a democracy. Let's go further. You also spoke about the traffic. You don't want to see whether the world's problems are America's problems. Why let's take care of America. Again, this comes from us not understanding international policies instituted by our own country. The world's problems are in fact America's problems because many of the world's problems were created by our American expansionism. If we learned more in school about what America did in Chile, Argentina, Santo Domingo, Cuba, Panama, Nicaragua, and you may think, oh, they always did good things. That's what you heard. But let me tell you, we have been an extractive country throughout the world. Extractive throughout the world. That you don't know that, it's okay. After you've learned that, if you keep your same form of thinking, that's a problem. And what I'm doing here at Politics Done Right is not giving you what you hear at Fox News or not giving you what you hear on mainstream media. It's just simply telling you the truth. And then asking you not to take my word, but to look it up. It's readily available for all to see. Everything that I stated in the monologue that Howard generated, everything that I said is accurate, factual, and can be, if one wants to do the research that I've done all my life, you can actually find out if I'm lying, if I'm propagandizing, or not. The fact of the matter, I'm not. You look at what we did with the rice, the rice rules under Clinton. We got the Haiti boat. We got the Haiti issues. We can talk. We can show American involvement in much of the migration that is occurring right from south to Venezuela, from south to Costa Rica, from south to Haiti. All of that has an American component. The problem is our news media won't tell you that. And when these people start to come in, you're like, oh, we need to get them out. Well, let's talk a little bit about that as well. Getting them out. Let's remember that they are coming here because there is a demand. Like I said, it's never a supply side thing. It's a demand. And we have a demand for workers of this caliber, and that's what they represent. They don't come here and take. They are a net positive to the economy, as most Americans are going to find out when they go to the grocery stores and find the prices have risen, not only because of tariff, but because of the lack of labor to get the things that need to be done that you are accustomed to getting at an economical price. So, Martin, we can't continue the conversation with you today, but we can call back and I can answer you definitively one at a time. What I am saying, my brother, is absolutely right. What you're saying, the narrative that you gave, sir, was a narrative I could pick off of Fox News and tell you that that narrative is absolutely false. Let's go to Patrick.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Patrick. How you doing, my brother?
Doing fine. It's interesting how always the most certain callers are the ones that hang up in the middle of your explanation.
Right.
Now, we're told over and over, and most of us buy this, that the rich and the billionaire class are the job providers. You and I have talked about that a lot, and we both.
They're not, yeah.
I'd like to take the opportunity to point out who all the winners were in this last economic crisis, and they were all the rich. It came at the price of the poor, and now people can't get a job. So if the job creators just won, why are there no jobs available? Next, we used to have a drug problem because we toppled South American economies, and they didn't have many other options except to export a refined resource to a country that, because the way they're treated, would abuse it. But I'd like to point out that the death rates were in the thousands or tens of thousands when that was the model. But now we have domestic billionaires that have decided to push opiates, and now they're in the hundreds of thousands. We're our own worst enemy, and keeping these people here and allowing them to do whatever they like is absolutely destroying us. I have a bunch of other things to say because of the last call.
Yeah, but let's Patrick, let's save that for tomorrow, because I made him talk because he had a narrative that I know I was going to want to address. And so I wanted him to say his whole piece so he could say the whole thing. But now by doing that and answering, I'm limited to time. So I'm going to have to limit everybody to a minute now because every line is taken and I need to get to everyone now. So thank you very much, Patrick. Let's talk at 3, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy, 30 seconds, my brother, because I messed up on time.
Okay, Roberto, everybody can use some good ideas about saving money. First of all, pay off your credit cards in full each month. Don't pay that interest. Don't buy things like diamonds. They're just rocks. Don't buy a Rolex watch for prestige. Just buy a Mickey Mouse watch that tells time. And here's a good one. Try to pay cash for cars, starting with used cars. Don't run over a bunch of interest payments. And use your savings and by buying stock. Buy stock in the company that pays dividends, like Centerpoint Energy. You can use those dividends to buy more stock. You can end up giving away money to charities over the years, and you just have to learn how to handle your money. Try not to pay interest.
Thank you. In other words, fiscal responsibility. Jimmy, I'm running out of time, but thank you so kindly, and thank you for being there, my brother. I gotta go. To let's go to Betty. Come on in, Betty. 30 seconds.
Okay.
Good morning, beautiful.
Morning. We don't want to lose Japan. They're advancing electronics. Held on to them. And this is what to Martin, and he is like a Martin bird. You give him a house, and they will eat your bugs. This is to you also, Martin. Trump wears a straitjacket every day. Means he is nuts. He talks to the stupid, dumb, and junkies. To make himself look good, he talks about Biden. Biden is a virgin. Trump is a run-of-the-mill prostitute.
Thank you, Betty.
Paradise. Bye-bye.
Thanks, sis. I got to go. Let's go to Tag. Tag, sorry, I only got 30 seconds for you, brother.
Yeah, just a quick answer to Martin. He kept saying, do you want to go back to 4 years ago?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, well, here's my point about that, which he didn't seem to understand, I don't think. 4 years ago, we were suffering with a Trump lag. I mean, we had just gotten out from under 4 years of Trump, and it was not a good time. And selling bonds today, it's going to take a while for that to show up. Even right now, we're still living under the Biden economy that we had for 4 years.
But, brother, it is starting to show up. For the people who own bonds, when they look at their bond funds, it's showed up already. I got to go, Tag. Let's talk tomorrow. Let's talk tomorrow, brother. Let's go to Mike real quick. Mike, 30 seconds.
Just to be clear on Trump's tariff plan, what he's trying to do is replace the income tax or cut down the income tax with taxes primarily on the very rich, the top 1%. I think the top, anyway, and replace that with a sales tax. The problem with that is the sales tax is basically going to tax the middle class and poor at about 100%. Because pretty much they're living paycheck to paycheck. So,
brother, you're a smart. I gotta let you go, but you're very smart. Let me tell you what Mike just said is absolutely true.
End the mass murder in Gaza.
Thank you, brother. What he just said is absolutely a fact. Let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny. 30 seconds. I know it's hard for you to go 30 seconds, but only 30 seconds, brother.
You know that's not true. Words for that black-filled guy. Sounded like he swallowed the book from the Chicago School of Economics. John Perkins, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Everything he misquoted to you, his idea of reality, can be addressed by that guy.
Maybe I should play. You're right. I interviewed him. I should put that on. You're right, Johnny.
I'm done. See, I did it in less than 30 seconds. Bye-bye.
Love you, brother. Love you. You're a good man. All right, let's go to Augie. Augie, 30 seconds. Sorry, Augie. You know I love you, but I can only give you 30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay, I was going to talk about the Pope. In 2016, the Pope was asked about Trump. He said Trump was not a Christian. And, of course, Trump disparaged him, but now Trump is invited to his funeral.
Wow.
And as far as Martin, instead of going 4 years, let's go back 70 years. And there was when the billionaires were trumped at 90%. The 50s and 60s were the best year because billionaires were paying taxes. As far as MS-13, that's an American gang that Ronald Reagan and the Republicans shipped to Central America, and that's why all those Central Americans are coming over.
Thank you. Again, that's the thing. We got to get to the facts.
Trump,
you're right, brother.
And Trump kicked out all the Venezuelans into America because of what he did. But,
Thank you, Augie. Nailed it. Thank you, brother. Let's go to David. David, 30 seconds. Can only give you 30 seconds.
Well, I don't even need that much. I don't know if you noticed it, but last Tuesday, Elon Musk cut the budget on America's 250th birthday. He cut the budget for especially the local versions. So what did Texas have planned for America's 250th birthday, and how much of it got cut?
Good point. Good point. Thank you, David. Thank you. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm going to try to make this fast, but I'm going to follow up tomorrow when I have more time. The left is different from the right for one reason. The left wants to reward crime. You had a CEO of a healthcare organization was murdered, and strangers, total strangers, gave him money. You had a 17-year-old killed another 17-year-old. Strangers gave him money to get bailed out.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Remember, Rittenhouse got a whole several $1 million. Rittenhouse got for killing two people with a rifle that were unarmed. So thank you very much for not being balanced and telling the truth. All right, let's go to 346, number 5. I think that's Harry. Come on in, Harry, real quick. You only got 30 seconds, Harry.
No, there's nothing there.
Nothing there. Okay.
Got a deadline this morning.
All right, good. Close out for me, please, Howard and Jack.
Oh, nothing much here. Jack, what you got?
Here we go. Back to the deal. America causes great harm to the countries the immigrant comes from. They're being driven here. They're being driven here because it's bad there, and we cause a lot of it.
Indeed, we do. Take it home, Egberto.
Thank you. Let me tell you, folks, I got some comments specifically from John A. It says, I guess the downside in the generous rich view I express is that the government here did not expand the Affordable Care Act in the state and instead passed laws. Yeah, John A., but you also said, I think Brother John A. also said, I admire those rich folks who invest in cities by building hospitals and other powerful public things. Let me just say this as a statement of fact. Very few rich people do anything where there isn't going to be a positive result on their statement. Look, if I had $1 billion, the type of person that I have, it wouldn't last long because I would be giving away most of that stuff because I understand I have not earned that $1 billion. I could not possibly earn $1 billion. It's an economic system that allows us to rip other people off that would have given me that $1 billion. Until you understand the mechanics of economics, you won't really see that capitalism is an antiseptic form of slavery. Now, that said, I like how people say, oh, look, they got rich, but at least look at they invest and bought the Carnegie Institute and all these other things that they bought. If I stole $10 from you and then I gave you $1, I want you to pat me on my back for being so kind to give you $1 back from the $10 that I stole you. That's the problem with the indoctrination that we've had thus far in this country. We have to understand that we, the people, are the ones that produce. We are the people, are the ones who create. We, the people, are the ones with intellect. As AI come into fruition, AI is going to get rid of a whole lot of jobs. But you know what? That should be a good thing. AI should actually get rid of a lot of jobs, and we should reduce the work hour to 15 hours a week because AI is comprised of the entire knowledge of us all. We built AI. Love you all. You can finish the show at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can write me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. And like I said, love you all. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.